My old man, I think, was a massive Chelsea fan, so he used to take me to the Chelsea games every Saturday. I played in Clapham Little League for about 3 years, and after that I ended up going to Ernest Bevin School in Tooting. I played there for 4 or 5 years. I went to Wimbledon, got released, went to West Ham, got released, and then for I think a year, from 14 to 15, I didn't play any football whatsoever. Kind of knocked it on the head, and then I was just having a kick about in the local sports centre, Battersea Sports Centre, just behind Clapham Junction train station, and Fulham were there, and just took off from there really. When I was at school, obviously being released, and it's kind of embarrassing. I thought now, obviously I wasn't good enough, so I think that year out was good for me. I tried to concentrate on my schoolwork, but wasn't actually too good at that, so thankfully I stuck with it and managed to get my chance at Fulham. But back in the day, Fulham were in the 3rd division, so it was easier, if you know what I mean. Instead of going straight into a Premier League club, it probably would have been a bit harder for me. But my first game for Fulham, it was under 15, and there was about 4 of us from Battersea, so we went to Clapham Junction train station early in the morning. We found out that the trains weren't running to Your West, so my mate said, let's jump in a black taxi. So we jumped in a black taxi, and halfway up on the way there, no one had no money. So basically we got to the train station where we said, done a runner from the cab, jumped over the railway tracks back in the day, and got in the change rooms, got changed. And as we're running out on the pitch, you see this taxi man started running on the pitch saying, I want my money, I want my money, I want my money. I thought I was out then, literally thought. I was speaking to Gary about it the other day, and he said, you were this close from getting chucked out, but thankfully I played well that day, and the manager kind of turned a blind eye. No, not really. They didn't get released straight away. It was about 2 or 3 weeks later, so they kind of buried it. And thankfully, obviously, a lot of people say it was a bit of initiative, but I don't know, it was when you're young, you do things you don't think, and then obviously it's one of the things I regret, but like I say, now I can tell it, and it's kind of a funny story. 15 started, then I got in the youth. Back in the day it was called the youth team, now it's all academy stuff. Played in the youth team from 16 to 18, managed to, I think I made my debut when I was 17 for the first team.
I think that was against Cambridge.
Yeah, come on as a sub, didn't actually touch the ball for 8 minutes, but that was my debut.
We've all got starts.
Yeah, sure.
What was it like then? Were you on the bench?
No, actually, I was cleaning boots. It was because it was a night kick-off, and I was cleaning boots, and the manager, the assistant manager, come over to me and said, "You're with us now, right? Leave those muppets." And I looked round, and he was talking to me, and I went into the change room, and the manager named me and put me on the bench. So it was good. I think I touched the ball once, but it was a tackle. I didn't really. It was kind of all of a blur for me, to be honest.
But when you came off the pitch, did you think, "Wow, I've made it"? Was it?
No, definitely not, because obviously we were back in the 3rd division, so you kind of played it down. Obviously when you watch TV, when you watch football, it's only the Premiership. Well, it wasn't even the Premiership then. I think it was the Division 1. So I didn't think I'd made it because it was that 3rd division football. So I just got my head down. I didn't play again for another 2 years. So it was kind of it lifted me up, but then the downside was that I didn't play again for another 2 years, I don't think. If I'm honest, the best thing about that was when you sign a bigger contract and you see your pay packet. I'm not going to lie to anyone. When you first see that nice pay packet and you think, yeah, I'm going to go out and spend something nice, instead of, because I can recall in the 2nd division being on £150 a week. Obviously back then it was nothing really. First team players were getting like 3 or 4 grand a week, and I was only £150, but because you're young, you just get on with it and hopefully earn a new contract, and that's what helped me.
What did you buy with that first big pay packet?
I think I bought a pair of iceberg jeans. Yeah, I've got a lot of good memories at Fulham. Obviously, that's where I started. That's where I think I played my best football. I think the one regret is that looking back now, I'd like to have been a player who played for the same team throughout his whole career, because the grass isn't always greener on the other side. I thought when I left Fulham, I went to Spurs. And I thought, yeah, this is a good move for me at the time, but they didn't kind of look after me the way Fulham looked after me. So that was the only kind of regret that I left Fulham. I would have liked to have stayed at one club for my whole career.
What made you want to move to Spurs? Just was it a bigger club?
It was a bigger club. I felt at the time it was Fulham sacked their manager, John Garner, and they were still playing at Loftus Road as well. They didn't have their own ground, and Louis Sahar went to Man United, Steve Finnan went to Liverpool. A lot of the big name players were leaving, so I thought it was my chance to maybe step up the grade, but like I said, the grass isn't always green on the other side. Yeah, Portsmouth was kind of a similar club to Fulham, whereas it's more of a family club, everyone sticks together, the facilities are not the best, so you kind of all muck in together. There was a good team spirit, and I had a good 3.5 years at Portsmouth. Obviously the upside of Portsmouth was that I played near enough every game, but the downside was the cup final, I wasn't even on the subs bench, so a lot of ups, and obviously that was the massive down. When you got your whole family coming to the game, and then you're ringing them half an hour after you name the team and say, oh, I'm not even on the bench, you might as well go home. I think they all went home and even watched the game. Obviously, being a professional footballer, the hours are fantastic. You literally, you work from, you get into the training ground at 9 o'clock, you get your breakfast there, you go to the gym, then you start training, you're home by 1:30. You've got so much spare time, it's unbelievable. Looking back at it now, I wish I would have done something else in my spare time, maybe, because now obviously I've just retired from football and I'm kind of scratching my head thinking, what am I going to do? And when you look back, I had so much spare time, so much time to maybe do another trade or go back to college, because I didn't get many grades at school, so that's a regret as well. I wish I would have done a lot more, but like I say, now I'm looking to get back into Fulham and do stuff. Not so much when I was younger, no. I used to obviously, I can't honestly say, literally get home, maybe play a bit of PlayStation, friends are all around. Obviously I've got a family now, so I think when I was 20, my little girl was born when I was 25, so since then it's basically being a family man. So, but from obviously 21 to 25, it was literally doing what most teenagers and adults get up to, really. But most of my pals that I was in the youth team with, they didn't make it, so they all had jobs. So I was literally at home and they were at work, so there's not much for you to do. No, it was an easy decision. I joined Bolton, and then for 3 years I'd had 3 or 4 ops on the knee. I tried my hardest to come back. Well, I think I've worked my hardest in the gym. I've been the slimmest and the fittest I've ever been, but literally couldn't take the pressure of. I could train, go into training, do everything in the gym, but as soon as I got on the pitch, the intensity of a Premiership game or even a reserve game, my knee would literally be like a balloon after. So it taught me a lot, obviously, because when you're injured, you start thinking about what you're going to do after football. So it made me a stronger person. Definitely.
I mean, everyone says the knee swells up. I mean, how big are we? Are we talking pretty?
Literally, you could even bend it further than that because there's so much fluid in it. But now I can do that. I literally couldn't bend it. I'd be on the ice machine for like the rest of the day after training, and it was like too much.
How do you kind of keep focused then? Because we've been doing kind of strength and conditioning workshops this morning. Is it hard to kind of G yourself up?
I think you need a focus. If you haven't got a focus, then it is hard. Obviously, for the 3 years I was injured, my focus was getting back and playing. So that kind of pushed me on and spurred me on through the bad times. But now I'm finished now. I see a lot of footballers say when they finish they get depressed, they don't know what to do, but now I think it's the start of something else. It's a new chapter in my life. I'm looking forward to it. I've got a settled family, 2 daughters, one goes to college and one's at school, so it's up to me now to try and find a new, obviously, job, something to do, because I don't want to be sitting at home.
So we'll be looking at coaching badges, scouting?
No, that's one thing I won't do is coach. I remember what I was like with a coach, so I don't want to be getting stick like that from players and young players with bad attitude. No, I couldn't cope with that. I'd rather do something similar to this, maybe doing a bit of media, doing a bit of corporate days, going to match days, charity events, just something to keep me ticking over, because I think that's when you start to lose your head if you've got nothing to do. Wow. Best player I played with, all depends really. Skillful, I'd probably say Lassana Diarra, who plays for Real Madrid now. He was the most skillful. In terms of leaders and stuff like that, you had your Ledley King, Chris Coleman, I'm trying to think. Kevin Davis at Bolton was a good leader. It all depends what kind of you take from a player, but most skillful I would say Lassana Diarra. Best finisher, I don't know, Jermaine Defoe.
This would have been at Spurs,
Lassana Diarra, no, I played with him at Portsmouth when he was the one who took my place. So when someone you train with day in, day out, and you watch them play, and you're like, oh my God, this player's unbelievable, and they're in your position, you can't really knock on the manager's door and say, listen, why I'm not playing, there's your answer.
You weren't tempted to give them a little in training?
No, it's too quick for me. If someone tells you the night before, you can kind of gear yourself up to the day, and then you can tell your family and friends not to bother coming to the game because you're not playing. So I think obviously that was a frustrating. I think I let myself down by not going to the parade after. I think if I could change things, I would have gone to the parade, but I literally, after they won the game, I just went home and spent it with the family. Like, certain managers will put their arm around you. I think the best quality in a manager is just honesty. If you're not going to play, just basically tell me I'm not going to play, because I'm not a kid. I can literally, if I'm not playing fair enough, what are the reasons for me not playing? I agree or don't agree, but then at least you can go off and you know what the problem is, instead of not knowing and then you end up getting yourself wound up and maybe doing silly things.
Did you ever do that?
Because I just thought, it all depends. If it was the manager, I'd thought, well, he might just fob me off, or I don't know, I'm going to know the answer, so I'd never really knocked on the door. Yeah, the Spurs move probably, but it's not a regret. Obviously, looking back now, I should have stayed at Fulham, but at the time, it was a good move for me. I think one of the biggest, maybe the biggest regret, when I first got injured at Bolton, I didn't go abroad, didn't go to America, didn't go to get the best possible treatment, because I think the treatment after my first, I had a microfracture where they drill the needle into the bone, they let it bleed, and then it makes the cartilage get stronger. But I didn't think I got the best rehab, but maybe I should have gone to America and done my whole rehab out there and then come back onto it. I think you only find out when you have a long injury in football, you find out what's best. You know, 'cause before I had a long injury, I used to eat what I wanted, do what I wanted, go out, maybe have a few drinks when I wanted. But when you get injured, you can't do none of that. You're literally in the gym 7 hours a day, trying to get fit, where you watch your diet, you have a nutritionist, so you do more core work, you do more strength and conditioning work. That's one thing I wish I would do, change now. When I was younger, I would have done a lot of more injury prevention work.
So what would ice baths?
No, injury prevention work, just going in the gym, doing more gym work, strengthening my muscles. Because my problem with the knee is that I had a bad calf muscle, and it wasn't strong enough, and thighs weren't strong enough. Muscle here called the VMO, that wasn't strong enough. So I'd say to every young player now, make sure you do your injury prevention work and put as much into it as possible, because like I say, you're a long time retired.
So we're talking putting time in the gym?
Yeah, definitely. Sessions like core sessions, stability work. It's the sessions that when you're in the gym you might muck about with your mates and not really take it seriously. I think I would probably take it more seriously. There wasn't, at the time there wasn't much options out there. Most of my pals either worked in the post office, or it's true, or became labourers, worked on a building site, painter and decorators and stuff like that. But nowadays, if I didn't make it as a footballer, I'd love to be had a chance to work in football, maybe work on the computer side of it. Because when you're at a football club, you always see the computer guys and you have a chat with them, and they're basically working on football all day. So something to do with football, I definitely would have tried to stay involved, but that wasn't open to us because that would have been 1996, 97, yeah. I hated doing stuff when I was younger. When I first started, the lads used to hammer me because I always used to stutter and come across really bad. But I think once you get older and you start doing it a lot more, you get comfortable and you get used to doing it. Like I think the first time I done Soccer AM, I was so nervous. But then once you do it and then you do another one and you do another one, you get confidence, and it's just getting used to doing it, really. So sometimes I think when you're first starting to do media stuff now, I think you can definitely be diplomatic, and there's things you can say to someone and things you can't say to someone. But like I say, sometimes honesty does get you into trouble, but I still believe that honesty is the best policy. If I'm honest, I hated talking to the press after games. I wouldn't want to do it. Or if you got man in the match and you had to go and collect the award and then do even things like this, question and answer and speaking, I used to hate it. But I think once you get older and you get a bit more confident, and it's something you might want to do. Obviously, I finished football and I'd like to do a bit of media. I'd like to do commentary on games and stuff like that. So I feel the more I do, the better I'll get it.
Were there
loads
any
of busy people, but looking back now, it was probably the right thing to do, because I think the more you get yourself on the TV, the more you do commentary, I think the more options you'll have once you finish playing football. Obviously, when I play for the England under-21s, obviously it's good to represent your country. I never actually made it to play for the England full squad, but I was close. So, but I'd say looking back, my Fulham career is probably the highlight of my career.
Quickly looking at that England call-up, it was the Australia
Yeah, there was about 24 players and 22 played and 2 didn't. And I think it was me and Scott Parker at the time, or Paul Konchesky, I'm not too sure. I can't remember. I think it was when Wayne Rooney made his debut.
What was it like getting that England call-up? Do they ring you up and say, Sean, you're in?
No, I got told by I think they faxed a letter over to the club, and the club told me. I was excited, but obviously you have such a high, and then such a low, because you end up not playing. So football's a lot like that. One week you can play really well and get all the accolades in the papers and stuff, and then the next week you look at the paper and you've got a 4 out of 10 and you're like, oh my god, like, was he watching the same game? And then you'd have a bad week. So it's always ups and downs. Obviously if you played in a winning team like we did at Fulham, it was mostly ups, but when I played for the likes of Portsmouth and Bolton, it was maybe ups, downs. So it is difficult to deal with. Yeah, I always used to wonder, like, because we was in the second division and first league, who used to come in game and who used to score the points, because the same players would get the same score every week, and I'd always get a 6, and it'd be like, I played well this week, I scored a goal, but I'm still getting a 6. So yeah, I always used to read the papers.
And when you got that call up to England, how big a step up was it for training with those kind of your Beckhams, your Gerrards?
It was weird because we stayed in a hotel in Canary Wharf, and every player had their own room. So it was literally, went to Canary Wharf, went in your room, come out, done a bit of training. I think we only trained once or twice. I think it was like a midweek game, so it was very weird really. It was a kind of a funny atmosphere, so it didn't really get too much time to spend with the players, because everyone had their own room and went off and done their own thing.
So you think there's probably a better team spirit down at club level when you're with the guys?
Yeah, obviously, because you're with them week in, week out. But I think the best spirit, obviously, when I played in the under-21 tournament in Switzerland, we had a good team spirit then. Unfortunately, we didn't get out of the group stage, but it was a good experience.